Hi guys, Adrian the Porsche lover. So today we're going to talk about, is engine tuning good or bad for your car? Let's deep dive into this topic for today. As usual, we're going to start with a wristwatch check. So on my wrist today is a Zenith Elite. This is a 39mm version with a silver sunburst dial on the black crocodile strap. Very lovely and it's very slim in profile. Excellent to wear. Alright, back to the topic at hand. First off, we will talk about what is tuning. So tuning is basically modification to optimize certain parts of the car to perform differently to a different set of requirements than it was originally designed for. There are actually many parts of tuning that people are unaware of. So usually we talk about engine only, engine tuning, but there is audio tuning for audiophiles who like to put in better sounding speakers. There is interior tuning where people actually swap out the seats for bucket seats and the roll cage. Then they have suspension tuning where people use coilovers to improve our handling. Then subsequently we have body tuning where people actually put on wings, body kits to increase downforce or to improve aero. Then we also have tire tuning where stance, a lot of people know, is part of tire tuning. But for today, we're going to touch on engine tuning. All modern cars like the one behind me are optimized for the best performance versus emission. So they actually have this item called the ECU, the engine control unit. Think of it as a brain for the car, and it will have many sensors. The coolant sensor, the NOx sensor, the fuel pressure sensor. All the sensors will fit into this ECU, the brain of the car, and it will calculate on what kind of output it should give to you. If you've seen my previous video about RON, which I will link above and below, when you put in different RON fuel into the car, it will perform differently. The engine original mapping will detune or up the tune the car to match the petrol that you put in the car. So for engine tuning, basically you are actually remapping those items. So sometimes the engine tune is also called a engine remap. So engine remapping or tuning, there are two different ways to do it. Number one, you can actually change the software of the car itself, the ECU, to perform differently by giving a different map. Or you can actually give it false data, which we call piggyback, to change the parameter of how the car will react to your throttle response. Next, you will ask, is engine tuning reliable? The answer is that every tuner has a different recipe. So some tuners actually tune the car to be like stock. That means you have a better throttle response, you have a slightly improved fuel economy, you have better, higher top speed. But some tuners actually push it to the max, give you higher horsepower, higher torque, the max of it, by increasing your 0 to 100 times and everything. So what I like to give an example will be like nasi lemak, one of Malaysia's favorite breakfasts. If you go to different nasi lemak stall, the person who makes it will have a different recipe. Some nasi lemaks are sweet, some are spicy, some have more cucumbers, some have chicken. So same as tuning. So every tuner will have a different recipe for the cars. An experienced tuner will look at all the data and parameters like I mentioned earlier, the NOx sensors, the coolant temperature, the exhaust readings, to give you the best performance for your car. But you cannot say that the tune is bad, because some tunes are actually tuned differently for different occasions. So a car which is tuned for track is different from a car tuned for gymkhana or autocross. So it's two different things. Sometimes they are actually tuned for performance, and long-term reliability might not be part of the equation. So as you add more components, some people say stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So stage 1, the most basic, usually be a tune and changing to a higher airflow air filter. So you get a better airflow, you can push more power out of the engine. So stage 2, maybe you need a bigger intercooler, you need to have change your oil cooler. Stage 3, maybe a downpipe. So it all depends on the tuner itself. But the more items, the more complex it gets, the more chances for it to have issues. So the tuning needs to be very experienced to know all this data and also to tweak the map to suit that. If you like my content, please give it a like and subscribe. Moving on to the next point, will tuning damage my car? So the first thing you need to understand is that the car parts, whether it be engine, suspension, will have a lifespan. By tuning the car, you're actually increasing the performance of the car, and that will also reduce the lifespan of the parts. So sometimes, the more aggressive the tune, the parts might fail prematurely. So like back to the nasi lemak example. So if you suddenly eat a nasi lemak which is too spicy, which you're not used to, what you will get? You'll get diarrhea. So same thing, your car will give up or have issues. And in worst case scenarios, you have premature failure. Those are the worst kinds to have because it's very costly. Imagine your cylinder head warping, your engine block crack, and also of course you heard engine explosions and all that. So that's a big no-no. Those are actually the work of inexperienced tuners who has not tuned the car properly or has not done enough testing for the car itself. On the positive side, like I mentioned earlier, tuning can actually have several pros. Increased horsepower, you have increased torque, which will give you a smoother engine response. You also have improved fuel economy. Yes, you heard that right, improved fuel economy. So it all depends on the tuner itself. So back to the nasi lemak example, when you go for your yearly checkup, let's say the doctor say that, hey Adrian, you have high blood pressure and also high cholesterol, please cut down on your nasi lemak. That is what the doctor usually will say. But however, in 2016, Time magazine actually voted nasi lemak to be one of the top 10 in the world healthiest breakfasts. So why does the doctor in Malaysia say that it's bad for you? So it depends on the nasi lemak itself. In the correct portion, it is actually healthy with the correct nutrients. But if you have too much of it, it will give you issues. Same like tuning. If you do it moderately, you will have benefits for the car. But if you do it over, definitely the car will give you more issues, whether reliability will be an issue, premature wear and tear of the parts, or of course, worst case is failure. In conclusion, there are pros and cons to engine tuning, and only you will be the correct person to know whether it's good for you. So before you do any tuning, do your homework first. Ask for reviews for the tuner that you plan to go with. Ask the customers whether how the cars feel after being tuned. Is there any reliability issues? Are there any check engine lights? Are there any issues with the car? I hope you guys got a lot of info from this video. If you have any comments or any questions, please leave it in the comment section below. In the meantime, stay safe. Cheers guys.